Howdy, cowpokes. I know exactly what you all were thinking. Steve, last episode was so fun and entertaining. Where the heck is Gambler 8 Challenge is Trash Part 2? You're in luck. It's 3:50 in the morning. I just woke up. I've been going to sleep very early because I get tired early sometimes. So I figured, what's a better way to spend a strong hour and 30 minutes at least than gambling for a challenge that I'll need to get out of the way soon enough. So, just like last episode, feast your eyes on this part of the game, this part of the footage, because this will be the only fun bit, and I won't waste any time when it comes to getting back on that fanfiction. I'm gonna Google it again. We're gonna get right back where we were to pass the time. I will, of course, lower the game volume when we get there. This time we're going to be heading to the Van Horn Saloon. A different setting. Maybe slightly more entertaining.
Stop a minute! Not gonna happen. You hear me? Hold up!
Alright. Still need to get a couple challenges done in the way while I'm on the road. Like I need to hit small game with small game arrows 8 times in a row. Harder than it reads, but at least it's feasible with actual skill. Another one where I have to tomahawk 4 people with the same tomahawk. Once again, consecutively. What's another one? Eat 4 berry species. I've not 100% completed, but I've beat the story. I've explored all of the map, and I've only eaten 3 berries. I have no idea how many others there are, so I think I'll have to cheat to discover the 4th berry. But of course, I want to get the most fun challenge done as my wake-up call. So that's what we will be doing. I noticed one way to circumvent the mic malfunctioning is to simply unplug it for some time and then just eventually plug it back in at some point. I know for a fact that it's the controller and not the mic itself because it doesn't F up on the phone. So this controller is sort of beaten up. All parts of it work, except arguably the rechargeable battery, but I think that's the charger's fault, because it's loose in the controller, and the A button is beat to heck. The A button has no feel to it. You can hardly tell that I'm pressing it, compared to all the other buttons, which makes sense, because the A button's easily the most abused. So yes, we are just on our way to having fun. No one takes my robbery attempt seriously. He won't catch me. This is the fastest horse. Statistically, at least, this is the fastest horse I own. I think it's called a Missouri Foxtrotter. Not sure. I bought it from a stable at... I don't remember. But it shouldn't be too hard to find, considering you can buy it. Alright, so last we were on the fanfiction. It was kind of hard to tell that it was an erotic fanfiction until we got to the concluding parts of the first video, where vocabulary was being used, some strong words, Abby in heat, Owen having to resist his urges because she is the alpha feline, and he is the omega beta dog. She's the top, he's the bottom, and what she says goes. And she says to leave her alone when she is in her rut. So we will be continuing that fanfiction. Have a lot more pages of it to go. And hopefully we'll pass the time that already seems to pass very quickly whenever I'm doing this horrific challenge. If I didn't mention earlier, I will of course lower the volume so you can hear this amazing story in full clarity. And we will have ourselves a jolly old time. I think if I try to rob anyone here, the entire town's gonna fight me. There's no law in Van Horn, so whenever bad stuff happens here, I usually just end up killing the entire town. But I'd like to try to avoid that. I mean, it doesn't help that these people are just terrible. I mean, look at this dude, just staring at me, and then when I talk to him, watch.
Hello. I was talking to you, you moron.
If I keep antagonizing, someone might get upset and try to kill me.
No thanks.
Well, I heard worse from better, bastard.
He just said no thanks.
What you doing?
Why you acting like it
Is the
ain't
beard?
hit?
Oh my god.
Yeah, damn right. You respect your better.
You see what I mean? I legit just said no thanks to a prostitute, and everyone's about to kill me.
I can't. I got a beautiful woman of my own.
Stand.
You probably don't know how to please a girl nohow.
Give me a damn car.
Man, these people really ask to get themselves killed. Is the beard longer? Maybe. This does look like a pretty full Santa beard. Let's not dilly dally any longer. Oh, this is a different dealer. Okay. Last one had a funny accent. This one doesn't, so it won't be as entertaining. He looks the exact same though. So am I hearing things or? Nope. It's the exact same looking dude, but different voice entirely. Let's play one round before I begin.
Let's get started.
Excuse me.
12,
Card, please.
16,
Yep. Card.
18.
Yep.
That's a bust.
Yep. Alright. Let's not dilly dally. We have.
Wake up, samurai. We have a fan fiction to read.
Okay. To Google we go. Think I'll do this at the same amount of time till the 1 hour and 30 minute mark, aka 100 minutes for me. That's an hour and 40 minutes. How long was the last video? Before I lose my mind. Last video was an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, yes, hour and 30 minutes. And the reason I made the thumbnail that way is to mirror the feelings I have while doing this challenge. Alright. Okay. We're gonna restart a paragraph just to reboot our piping. They had to listen to her crying, screaming, begging, raging. It was hardest on Owen, of course, who had the dual pulls. One, because he loved her and hated to hear her in pain and distress, and two, because he wanted to mate with her. He secretly thought he had paid his dues and was humiliated that she made him swear in front of everybody not to mate her. He was her boyfriend, dang it. More than once, he was dragged back physically from trying to approach her. Finally, he was restrained for his own and her own good. They understood he was not fully in control of himself, and the group were trying to avoid harming him further. Luckily for all, the end of the third day of her full rut period was quieter, and by the fourth morning... Ooh, hold on. 8. Strong hand, strong... It's not strong anymore. It's not strong anymore. All hope is lost. All hope is lost when you get a 10 value card. Like, when you start low, if you get, I'd say, 7 and above, your chances are almost completely demolished. Where were we? And the group was trying to avoid harming him further. Luckily for all, at the end of the third day of her full rut period, it was quieter, and by the fourth morning, she was done. They unbarricaded her room, which was trashed from one end to the other. She was freshly washed, dressed, and looked better than they had seen her in a week. Abby worked through her rut largely on her own. She had not been ready for the sexual part of her relationship with Owen, a beta. Not even close. Not at any time, and not even during her rut. Well, in her rut mind, she would have mated them all, him included. But in her sane mind, not even in her rut. Oh, nice, a 20. Yo. Breaking stuff is so much easier than enduring through this, but you gotta persevere. She would have mated them all, him included, but in her sane mind, not even in her rut. That should have sent signals to both of them, but neither of them was willing to see it for what it was. Abby was just not that into him. Oh, she loved him, no doubt, but just not like that. And he loved her, just like that. He tried to be okay with it, tried to be supportive, but he did F around sometimes, just a little bit. What's a guy supposed to do? Abby secretly thought she had no sex drive, or was asexual, or perhaps that part of her body didn't work, or if anyone else had suggested that, including Owen, she would have pounded them into the ground. Owen, she would have pounded them in what? Oh no, I lost my line. But she did think those thoughts when she allowed herself to think about it at all. Holy heck. Yo, wait. Wait. He can't beat that. And he beat it. Unless he... Yep. That was our best chance. We lost it anyway to that dude as well. The first time I ever got to pull 3 cards. And then I just get beat by these 2 losers by 1 point. Including the dealer. A tragedy. A tragedy. Back to our fanfiction. She masturbated frequently and got herself through subsequent ruts just fine, but still secretly concluded that she was broken. There was definitely something wrong. Then the Fireflies fell apart. Largely in response to the absolute carnage Joel Miller wreaked on them. This person wrote it, wreaked on them. And on... Actually, that's the correct word, right? Wreak havoc? Absolute carnage Joel Miller wreaked on them. Yeah, that is the right one. See, I'm stupid. Ever since we've been out of school, my English has just completely went down the drain. So I apologize to the author for trying to make fun of them for something that I clearly don't understand, which is the English vocabulary, and the only language that I understand fully. I thought I understood fully. And on the hospital that day, he absolutely devastated their security and armed forces, depleted their supplies and resources, as well as annihilated their leader. This person is really, really hammering a message here. And as well as annihilated their leadership and their medical team. Those that survived tried to carry on, but many lost hope. Quite a few just disappeared. Owen and Abby and their posse tried to make it on their own for a while, but eventually ended up at the WLF. Abby embraced the madness. I'm kidding. Abby embraced the opportunity, and Owen resisted it. Just another little crack in an otherwise perfectly imperfect relationship. Oh boy. Now, for the first time ever, I think, in this fanfiction, we're getting real dialogue. Not before I get this blackjack with 3 hits. Today's a good day. You know what? I'm not mad at that one, because it was close, and we're getting many opportunities to draw 3 times, which is unlike yesterday. Alright. Wait, well, what is this dialogue? Woo! Lift and controlled release. Woo! Lift and controlled release. Hundreds of them every morning while Abby watched the sunrise. Abby watched the sunrise, pumped her weights, and alternatively indulged in her many and varied thoughts, or blocked them out. Depending on the day and the thoughts, when she was away from home, she would lift whatever was on hand. Bricks, containers, the rear ends of vehicles. No BS. When they were on jobs, Abby could lift the heaviest burdens, clearing exits, carrying the wounded, giving huge men boosts up through windows. Giving huge men boosts through windows. She could also lift, drag, and pull more than her own body through the most difficult spaces, going ahead of the team to turn back and open doors for them. All of that is incredibly handy, but Abby's strength is most valuable in hand-to-hand combat. She can hit with such force, hand or weapon, easily cracking skulls more than crushing them. She is well known for economic stealthy... She is well known for her economic stealthy chokeholds? What kind of description is that? Which costs nothing in terms of... Oh, I get it. It's a fancy way of saying she's resourceful. Okay, I actually like that. Which costs nothing in terms of resources or attracting further opponents. Yes, everybody wants to be on Abby's team. Who wouldn't? And Abby loves being in this position. To be fair, she worked enormously hard to add so much value as an individual and as a team member, but that's not her motivation. Not exactly. Abby was bent on revenge. All-consuming, rage-fueling revenge. In the days following the devastation of the Fireflies, those remaining tried to figure just what had occurred. On the one hand, it was clear that Joel, last name Miller, y'all should come back restock before you head out with us, had shot up the place to get back the immune girl. On the other, it was almost impossible to believe that one person could do so much damage. Even if one were to believe... Even if one were to believe it, it was still unbelievable. Abby spoke to everyone she could, built an inventory of evidence, so to speak, developed a crime scene analysis. Over time, she was able to work out who Joel last name Miller was, where he had come from, why he did it, and she began tracking down the leads. Abby was going to find this effer and make him pay in blood. Unlike Abby, Lev and Yara had no such motivation. They had nowhere to go and nothing to do except stay alive, survive, endure, and survive. Neither could help reflecting privately that it was such a waste. Both of them committed to their Seraphite tradition. Oh my god, this is a terrible hand anyway. Yep, come on. 3 aces, please. It was a good effort. Neither could help reflectingly... Okay, this is actually messed up English. Read this, or listen to this. Neither could help reflectingly privately that it was such a waste. I think he meant to say reflect privately that it was such a waste. Both of them committed to their... Both of them committed... Whoa. Both of them committed to their Seraphite tradition. Both would have been happy, committed, and successful soldiers for their community. If only they hadn't insisted that Lev marry. This could all have been avoided. 19. Dude, how many hands in a row have I been started with an impossible scenario? Unless, I guess, I think when you get an ace, face cards lose their value or something. That's what I'm noticing. They could have found that persona, another wife and Lev could have been a soldier, and all would have been right. But no. Nothing could be so easy. Now the two groups were at odds, wasting time and resources, one seeking to find and kill, the other seeking to avoid and defend. Lev and Yara, this person constantly misspells Yara's name and puts 2 R's, and it's bugging the heck out of me. Lev and Yara were barely seeking out a living in the meanest sense, finding food and somewhere to sleep. Meanwhile, another 19? Whose meat is being charred? My meat's being charred, that's whose. Finding food and somewhere to sleep. In the meantime, they were forced to kill literally hundreds of Seraphite soldiers in defense. It was such a waste. It was lost on neither of them, but for the most marginal of life circumstances, they would have been on the other side. They could have been fed, accommodated, and had access to medicine, weapons, and ammunition. They put medical, weapons, and ammunition. That doesn't read right. It was particularly difficult because Lev and Yara were unfamiliar with the ways of the world outside of their community. Excuse me. Strong hand right here. Still strong? Not strong anymore. Unfamiliar with the ways of the world outside of their community. Indeed, their teachings forbade contact with and use of such resources, and so they avoided it. That left them within the areas of the Seraphites. In competition for land, food, and resources, oftentimes it brought them into violent contact with their former brethren. So it was a particularly fraught existence. When Lev and Yara rose an hour before dawn each day to meditate, they imagined soldiers just on the other side of the wall. Wall, fence, forest, wherever, doing the exact same thing, recalling the same text, the same teachings, and attempting to discipline their mind, bodies, and spirit in the same ways. Such a waste. Now, the reason, I'm going to play on the defense real quick. Hold on. This is a good hand. Although someone already has blackjack, so... Ace. Never. What was I going to say? Oh yes, I was going to say, my reading actually isn't this horrible. The reason why it seems like I can barely read is because I'm trying to focus on the TV screen as well in the background just to know when to press the A button. So that's my excuse as to why I seemingly have such a hard time reading. Alright, it looks like someone has joined the chat. Hello, one person watching. One person watching, if you're typing anything, I can't see it because I'm reading erotic fanfiction to pass the time. In case you don't know what's going on here, I am doing the Gambler 8 challenge in Red Dead Redemption 2, which means I have to ask for 3 cards and win the hand. If you know the rules of Blackjack, you'll understand how horrible that is, but in case you don't, I'll explain the rules. In Blackjack, the aim is to be at 21. in card value. Face value cards are worth 10, aces are worth 11 or 1. And you get 2 cards by default. So I need to ask for 3 cards and not go over, and win the hand over the other players. There are so many elements to this challenge that make it seemingly impossible. And just in case it wasn't that bad enough, just trying to get it once, you have to get it 3 times. I guess the only positive to that is it's not 3 times in a row. But regardless, this challenge is horrible, and this will take multiple hours of my life. So I figure if I do this in these intervals where I get to entertain myself in an unconventional way, it'll make it just a little bit better. And the reason why I'm subjugating myself to this trash is because I want to 100% the game, which means I need to do all these challenges. So regardless if I put this aside and leave it for later, I'm going to have to do this one way or another. So I might as well try to do it in the chances that I have in life, because this will definitely whittle away. This will chisel at my lifespan. Anyways, present. Abby secured the area. It appeared that no bodies had been in the area for some time. She scavenged the area, and how many times has this person said area? Hold on. I'm going to read this again. Abby secured the area. It appeared that no bodies had been in the area for some time. She scavenged the area and set up a few sound traps, while Liv gathered kindling and firewood and built a fire. Jesus Christ. Abby returned with water that would be boiled before being added to their canteens. Okay, that one was a misspelling by them. This is hopeless. That's right. They were on their last legs, the pair of them. Area after area, wolves and seraphites and infected, building after building, floor after floor, and when it was the terrain, and when it wasn't actual enemies trying to end their lives, it was the terrain. Damaged and dangerous infrastructure making it almost impossible to get from A to B. Buildings falling apart, destroyed, impassable roadways, you name it. Abby and Lev had survived it. Just. And that's not to mention the heights. Abby shivered involuntarily to recall the feats she had encountered. If it hadn't been for Lev. What a concept. Well, if it hadn't been for Lev, she would never have been up there in the first place. But nothing was worth considering if it meant being without Lev. She didn't know when it had happened, but they had become companions, close friends. They relied on each other and something more. They genuinely liked each other. She really couldn't imagine being without him. So, friendly reminder, I'm reading erotic fanfiction, meaning at some point things are going to get really gross. And the title of this was, I believe, Abby and Lev, A Modern Relationship or something. So, friendly reminder, Abby is a grown woman. She is a muscular woman. I believe she's either 20 or 21. She's between those ages. Lev, IIRC, is 14 or 15. It's either he's either 13, 14, or 15. Born woman, born female, identifying as male. And if the title of this erotic fanfiction tells me anything, it's gonna be that Abby and Lev are in a sexual relationship. So I'm gonna have to censor myself heavily if things get bad. But they won't, I'm sure. I'm sure everything is gonna be fine. Let's continue. She really couldn't imagine being without him. They shared their food in silence, each on their own side of the fire. They methodically went through their supplies and tended their wounds. Abby reloaded her weapons, checked the quantity and quality of medicals. Why does this person writes, they don't say medicine or medical supplies. They just write medical every time. Check the quantity and quality of their medical supplies and other, medicine and other supplies. I'm trying to revise how this is written. And other supplies she had scavenged while Lev checked his bow. Repaired arrows and sharpened arrowheads. They ate sparingly, rehydrated, and more or less went to sleep. Speaking of rehydrating, I haven't drank anything since I woke up. Time to rehydrate. Delicious. Also, yeah, friendly reminder about blackjack. If the dealer, the dude dealing out the cards, gets a blackjack, it doesn't matter. He wins the hand. And no, you can't ever play as the dealer. So in this instance, it started me with an ace worth 11 and a queen worth 10. So I immediately get blackjack, meaning I can't even attempt the challenge in this set. Awesome challenge, really. Can you imagine a gambling challenge where winning the already difficult to win gambling game, luck-based game, doesn't win you the challenge like blood? I think I would rather the challenge be win 3 blackjacks in a row. I think that would be more fun and feasible than this trash. But let me hold my tongue, because the next challenge after this is done in about 20 plus hours time is win 3 domino games in a row. I'm sure that will be awesome. Continuing. And more or less went to sleep. They were tired. Not sleepy tired, per se. Bone-weary tired. Physically, it was no wonder. But each was emotionally exhausted and running on empty. Food review. Grief. Abby's grief. 12 is a decent hand. It's no longer that decent, but not impossible. Now it's impossible. Abby's grief was an old one, made new and intensified. It was eating her up like a parasite, turning on a toast. Lev's grief was fresh. Hers made her reckless and angry. His made him quiet, reflective, a little morbid. She sought revenge. He sought peace. They were different in other ways, too. She was huge. Tall. Abby's not tall. Abby is the second shortest character next to Ellie and Dina. Everyone in her side of the playthrough is taller than her, if I'm not mistaken. Besides, I think, Nora and Whitney. But I don't think we ever see Whitney standing up. I'm pretty sure that beard got thicker. Saw how that beard lowers the FPS? That's how you know that's a freaking Chad's beard right there. We'll go into third person for a little bit. She was huge, tall, broad, strong, and loud, while Lev was small and quiet. Oh god. Oh god. Just those physical descriptions tell me there's gonna be some horror. Some eldritch horror that's gonna transpire in this freaking story. There were racial and cultural differences, as it's difficult to know how much of either contributes to the person they have become. Whoops. I gotta pay attention to when I'm playing, because if I get the chance to play 3 times, I have to remember to stand. Not that I have to, the challenge says hit 3 or more. But if I ever get the opportunity to hit 3 times, I'm not asking for another card. No way. That's why I have to slow down and pay attention when it comes to my turn. Even though it's very trivial. Well, it's not trivial, but it's very, small. It's a small occurrence. But there were similarities. Both driven, serious, intense characters. Both powerful in their own way. Hers, an obvious physical strength and skills-based power. His, a more subtle, internal, enduring power. She had not been asleep more... if this wasn't an erotic fanfiction, I'd actually say that some of these descriptions are pretty good. Like, Lev isn't a bad character, in my opinion. It is a shame that the bulk of his, defining character moment is his transgender identity, which is just such a freaking waste, Isn't the whole thing, you shouldn't... I'm trying to remember how to word this, but when you make a character that isn't a straight white male, it shouldn't be for the purpose of making a straight white male. They should just so happen to be another character, like a gay character. Their defining character trait isn't being gay. They just so happen to be gay. There we go. That's the way it works. Lev just so happens to be transgender, but no, the entire defining character arc and everything is just trans identity, transgender identity, going to mother to be accepted. Oh no, mother tried to kill me. What a shame. You did nothing wrong. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Such a freaking waste. That game is trash. Worst game of the year. Literally. Because it got game of the year and worst game from this year. Double duty. Alright, continuing. Where were we? She had not been asleep more than 3 hours when vivid images from her dreams caused her to wonder if they had seeped into her waking time. She drew in a short, sharp breath, and her body snapped. to a rigid form. Fight or flight response. Abby froze. She held her breath. Her ears pricked for sounds. Her eyes opened wide. Pupils narrowed in search of threats to life. Nothing. Letting her head drop, the inch or so back. I am making so much freaking saliva. Excuse me. I'm having to swallow so often. Nothing. Letting her head drop the inch or so back onto her backpack that doubled as a headrest on the rare occasion she had both the time and opportunity to sleep. 14's decent. Still decent. I like the hanging the head in shame. Wow, it's actually pretty nice to have your character out beard, out facial hair some of the NPCs, because these NPCs, they just rock length 9 and 10 beards just for fun, and it's crazy. It's like, that takes time, bro. It takes, like, what, 60-something in-game days to grow this freaking beard to 7? That's ridiculous. Why did they make so many weird simulation aspects to this game? Not that I'm complaining, I like them personally, but it's a strange design choice. Although, if you come off of the first Red Dead, I think you would come to appreciate it. If you're new, and you start with Red Dead Redemption 2, and you think this is just an outlaw game where you get to just rob and shoot and kill, and then, you know, things are much slower paced, I think that'll cause problems. But if you come off the first one of the things that I was itching for, personally, especially having technically played the second one first when it was available on Game Pass, it's those smaller details. You really come to appreciate those and lust for those, frankly. I need 2 aces. That's the only chance I have. I need a hand like that guy. See, he has a 5. Let's see what he gets when he gets them. Honestly, anything below, I'd say 13 is a really strong hand. Let's see what the 5 dude gets. Everett, eh? I know an Everett. No longer strong. As soon as you get a 10 value card. That's right, you better not get my freaking challenge. Anyways. Where was I? There was something, however. Something demanding her attention. Raising her head again, she noticed what it was. Lev had, at some point, while she was sleeping, dragged his bag and bow over to her side and apparently curled himself up against her, between her form and the fire, and gone to sleep. Let's hope this remains Christian. Remember, I am reading erotic fanfiction. That is what I typed, and this was the second result. I typed in The Last of Us 2 erotic fanfiction, and this was the second result. Okay? Oh, God. Friendly reminder, I've read fanfiction, Christian fanfiction that is, and by the way, when I say Christian, because I realize my vocabulary is lost on some people, I apologize, like my use of the word Republican and Democrat and stuff, Christian. When I say Christian, I just mean, you know, not vulgar, not terrible, not hentai level. And that's what I mean when I say Christian, just something PG-13, there we go. So hopefully this remains Christian between Abby and Lev at the barest minimum. Just keep the stupidity with Abby and Owen, please. Next paragraph. Oh yeah, I was saying, I've read some fanfiction, Christian fanfiction, and some of them are really good. You know, especially if you have a vivid imagination, or at least one where you can visualize these things. Some of these are really cool. It's cool to witness these video game characters in, you know, a different timeline, an alternate universe, different settings and stuff. John, you're gonna get commentary from me. Sorry. Complain all you want. He was complaining about one of the other players talking trash about him always losing. That's all that was. Let's continue. Enough dilly-dallying. Her first reaction was to hate it, but she knew immediately that wasn't her genuine response. Only the easy one. She wanted to argue that she didn't like people to become dependent upon her, but that ship had already sailed. Abby and Lev had been moving about together as a single unit for so long now that Abby couldn't pretend not to care. She couldn't pretend it was just a safety precaution, or until this or that happened. 13's decent. She couldn't pretend it was just a safety precaution, or until this or that happened. Sure, they had saved each other's lives on countless occasions, and more than just threats to life, but the other stuff as well, talking each other through obvious difficulties. Abby assures Lev that he did everything he could to save his sister, and Lev schools Abby about how to train her brain to face her fear. Abby has an acute fear of heights, a phobia. She is sure that's the only thing she is afraid of. Lev is afraid of being without Abby. Man, I wonder whose fears this is supposed to parallel. I swear to God. The whole rebranding Abby and Lev into the new Joel and Ellie was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in a video game. Like, showing the shot of the canvas sneakers in Santa Barbara and then it panning to show Lev and every... Oh my... Oh, Neil, what is wrong with you, dude? Disgusting. I bring this up because this author here is mirroring Ellie's fear of being scared of ending up alone and showing that that's Lev's fear. Anyways, oh no, I just read a sentence, I skipped ahead a little bit, and yes, this will turn bad. Brace your impact. Lev is afraid of being without Abby, for the obvious reason, but there is more. He had feelings for her. But she doesn't hate it. Not really. Abby likes Lev. He's a sweet guy. His mind is very simple, which is not to say he is not bright. He is. She thinks it's his spiritual training with the scars, the Seraphites. He interprets things differently to her. His approach is unique and refreshing, and Abby would pay to have some of his peace in mind. He has been a good traveling companion, too. That's wrong, too. Their styles are complementary. He doesn't chat much, just his presence keeps her on even keel. 13's pretty decent. Sorry. I just find John's voice so amusing. So anything he says makes me laugh. Not in a bad way. Not to say he sounds like it's bad voice acting, but just he has such a unique voice quality. Like, there's no one that sounds like Rob Whiteoff. I think that's how you say his last name. Who is the he is the actor for John Marston. You see, you can't say voice acting anymore, at least not for these big AAA productions, because they do more than just voice acting. And voice acting implies that, you know, they're in a booth, they have their script, and they're just reading lines. No, these dudes they are all the actions you see, all the animations in the game. They performed all those. If you notice in Red Dead 2 especially, how every character has these unique animations, that's because each character was uniquely mocapped by their corresponding actor. Which is funny because some actors, you know, for the most part, everyone in this game is the same build, and some actors aren't that build. Like the dude who performs for Dutch, he's a bigger guy, and you know Dutch isn't. Dutch is average to maybe slightly big dude, and in his motions, if you ever thought that they looked a bit odd for a fellow that looked like that, it's because his actor's a bigger guy. Can you tell I'm trying to avoid saying fat? It takes a lot of effort to be kind, okay? That's why I take pride on being such a nice person. You know, who doesn't want to be around me? Anyways, continuing. Where was I? She thinks it's his spiritual training with the scars. The Seraphites, pardon. And that was in the text, not me. He interprets things differently to her. His approach is unique and refreshing, and Abby would pay to have some of his peace of mind. He's been a good traveling companion, too. Their styles are complementary. He doesn't chat much, just his presence keeps her on even keel. She makes better choices just because he's around. She shudders to think what danger she would have thrown herself into, were it not for Lev. Abby is always seeking to subvert her emotional pain for the physical. It's so much easier to bear. Plus, it usually has an end date. Her grief doesn't, clearly. They never discuss it. 9's probably the best hand I've gotten in a long time. It's no longer good. It's crazy how the tide turns in this stupid game. I think I'll only do this for an hour, because I want to enjoy the quiet morning I have while I can have it, so I'll do this for 20 more minutes. Oh boy. How many parts do you think are going to be to this series? The Gambler 8 is Trash series. How many parts? I'm going to guess at least 30, which means 30 hours of this. And I will move from fanfiction to fanfiction. Trust and believe. Will they be about The Last of Us 2? Don't know. That game is an endless source of entertainment, though, so they very likely can be. It's been like 7 months since that game was released, so there is no short supply of erotic fanfic, I imagine. 16, what an awesome hand. Let's just lose this one real quick. Some good lighting in here. They never discuss it. Each lays his and her bag down just so, weapons at the ready, and prepares to sleep on their own side of the fire. And at some point, Abby awakes to find Lev has silently moved his gear and himself to her side. At first, she thought it was a one-off and didn't move a muscle. Now, she rolls to her side and wraps an arm around him, bringing him in close to her body. She's so big and he's so slight. It's hard to believe there is only 4 years between them. Abby only just 20 and Lev at 16. Lev in the game is not 16. Lev must be 15. There's no way Lev said that he's 16 in the game. I know they have an interaction in like a barbershop where Lev states his age, and then she's like, "You look like an 11-year-old, Abby." Abby says that. There's no way Lev said he was 16. I think it was 15 or 14, one of those two ages. I refuse to believe 16 was the canon. But obviously this is in the future, so I think this is post Santa Barbara and such, because Abby's already gotten her revenge and everything, and is with Lev, which is, I can't even say it's pretty late into the game. That's like day 2 of the game for her. But considering the age, I'm going to say this is post Santa Barbara. This author didn't really make it clear. They just have slight chapters like past, and now I'm in the present chapter. So yeah, it has to be post Santa Barbara. But this is like a slightly alternative timeline, because in real timeline they made it to Santa Anita. That's the name of the Catalina. Why did I Santa Anita? What? Catalina Island. The front door. And found the fireflies. That is canon. Confirmed by the post main menu screen and by Neil Condon. My favorite name for him. Anyways, continuing. I'm really trying to stall because I don't want to get to the nasty bits, because this is not going to end well. I'm not even halfway through this. I'm like 1/3 through this fanfiction, according to the slider. Continuing. Her outspoken and take-charge manner serves to make her appear much older, and his introverted nature makes him appear far younger. Maybe her alpha and his beta makes a difference, too. But when she puts her hand on his stomach to pull him in, her outstretched hand spans almost one side of his waist to the other. She tucks her fingers into his side and tugs. You can tell when things are gonna get really bad, because the authors get very, very, very descriptive. Let's play this strong hand first. It's no longer strong. That's right. He slides against her body, grateful for the contact. Time is a funny thing in this sort of environment. In truth, neither of them have anywhere to go or anything to do except to survive. That means seeking food, medicine, weapons, and other supplies, and finding a safe shelter whilst avoiding all of their known enemies, anticipating unknown enemies, negotiating other dangers, and navigating dangerous terrain. At the same time, both are locked in the past. Abby particularly. It's like she is still on her knees in the operating theater in Owen's arms, and her father just meters away with a shiv sticking out of him. Correction, it's not a shiv. It's the dang scalpel that Jerry Anderson pointed at Joel last name Miller. I don't know why this author keeps insisting it's a shiv sticking out of his neck, like Joel whipped out one of his 3 shivs and stabbed him. No, he reversed, he countered Jerry and struck him with his own weapon. Jerry pulled first. Jerry shot first. Joel Miller did nothing wrong. Anyways. The moment her heart broke. She has had her revenge. The thing she thought would make her whole again. It didn't. No wonder Owen could never get to her. He tried. He tried hard. For a long time. But he could never get through to her. No, that's not right. He could never get through her. Something. He just could never reach her. They were never in the same place at the same time. She would never let him in. He loved her. God knows he did. And he tried everything. He needed some contact with her. 8's a really good hand. It's still a good hand. Inhale and exhale. Never. Just never. 15 more minutes. And he tried everything. He needed some contact with her. If not her, somebody, anybody. He fooled around once or twice and thought she was oblivious. The third time, however, she could not have missed, but still, she said nothing. When he finally broke down and told her, she simply shrugged and said that she had known. He was hurt. Didn't she care? At all? She broke up with him. It seemed that he had given her the reason she needed to, even if it wasn't the real reason. After that, nothing else mattered to Owen. Not the WLF, not Mel, not the baby, maybe the Fireflies, but mostly that was just an excuse really to get away from them all. And in the end, none of it mattered because they were all dead anyway. 11's a pretty decent hand. Doesn't even matter. Friendly reminder that if I win the hand before I draw 3 cards, I don't win the challenge. Imagine. Rockstar Studios, billion-dollar company, one of the largest, Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the largest games ever, challenges this poorly designed. This is poor game design. See, this is objectively flawed game design. This is objectively bad game design right here, bro. This is trash. Continuing. And although Abby didn't love Owen like that, romantically, she did love him. Very much. They had always been together. Always sought each 17. We're just back to these terrible hands, ain't we? Very much. They had always been together, always sought each other out, enjoyed each other's company, had things in common. They picked each other first for their jobs with the Fireflies, and then again at the WLF. They made a formidable team. Everyone knew they were a couple. They were the hot alpha and beta couple on campus. If you're into those sort of juvenile similes, no one would have known they were not sleeping together, and everyone was shocked when it started leaking that Owen was fooling around on her. Who would? Everyone knew she was awesome. Then they were over, and Mel was pregnant. If she wasn't a doctor, they would have shunned her, for sure, and Owen more or less shunned himself. Abby kept her chin up, signed up for more and more assignments, began pairing up with Manny, and he moved into her room before they could assign someone. 14's decent. Oh, someone already has blackjack, so it hardly matters. Okay, thank you for busting me out early. When someone else has blackjack, if you get blackjack too, you can still win the hand, so long as the dealer doesn't get blackjack. If the dealer gets blackjack, he overrules and wins over everyone. If the dealer doesn't get blackjack, though, everyone else who gets blackjack wins the hand. Before the devil could assign someone. Before the devil you knew, laughed Abby to herself. Everyone was in love with Abby after that, except Manny. The Alpha had kept her dignity. She even kept it civil with Mel. Her value as a WLF member was unmatched. Her work ethic, her skills, and the man she was with was hot. What? Hold on. Well, yeah, let me play. Alright. Let me read this again. Her skills and man... Oh, okay. It was supposed to read like this. Her value as a WLF member was unmatched. Her work ethic, her skills, and man, was she hot. Only a very few people could get past those arms without swooning. Abby's alpha preened at the attention, and although she was friendly to absolutely everyone, a little flirty with a few, she was romantic with absolutely no one. It was very unusual for a single alpha not to be a player, and rare for an alpha to not at least be tempted to help betas and omegas through their heats by helping themselves. It made her seem more desirable and intriguing, but no one could get her. There were a few lucky ones who could elicit a flirt from the alpha. A few more could get a laugh or even a return joke, but no one could get her. Welcome to Owen's world. Now we're in the past again. Oh god, there's a lot of these weird time skips. So now we're in the past with Abby and Owen again. Let's continue. Oh god, this isn't going to last long. We're going to go back to the present soon, and I'm concerned for it. She was particularly close with her Firefly compatriots. They had all suffered a similar loss. Well, no one more than Abby. Oh yeah, of course. Abby's loss triumphs everyone's. Whew. Well, no one more than Abby. She was the youngest, not yet presented, and had lost her father. They had survived that heck together, and were very close, very tight, very loyal, especially to Abby. She had presented and gone through her first rut almost publicly amongst them. Amongst. Did they make an Among Us reference? And they all had to work together to get her and them through it. Burp incoming. 1 second. Excuse me. Let's play real quick. Woo. Have I gotten blackjack, what, 2 times, 3 times in a row? If only that was the challenge. Continuing. I'm finding my line. They had to find somewhere safe for her to move. Somewhere safe for her to pass her rut. They had to keep her and themselves safe from her explosive rage and primal sexual urges. The pheromones she pumped out were more than intense. She was compelling people to present to her, to beg to be taken by her. Many suspected Abby was a prime alpha at this point. Abby was everyone's friend. She kept her problems to herself and added value to the WLF overall. Amassed a lot of kills, brought back a lot of hunting spoils, contributed enormously to their intelligence about caches, or is it caches? Enemy camps and their troop movements, route blockages. She did a lot of favors for people. For example, she would leave particular scavenged items like music, books, tech, or tools. Oh, I got blackjack off tops. Okay. I was wondering when my turn was going to happen. Like music, books, tech, or tools outside interested people's rooms, or if she was moving between one unit and another, she would take notes or gifts for people's loved ones. In return, she often received an extra helping of protein on her dinner plate, or she would get a heads up about a new used pair of boots in extra good nick that was put aside for her to take a look at. She was able to request her favorite vehicle, and weapons too, which gave her a lot of comfort. She never asked for these things outright. She never had to, but was happy to receive them when they came her way. Present. Real quick, yo, I just checked to make sure the mic was on. I swear to God, my heart just stopped beating for a strong half a second when I went to check if the mic was on or not. The amount of times I've lost footage because I forget to turn the freaking mic on is ridiculous. And friendly reminder, the reason why I even shut off the mic in the first place is because whenever I have to go online for something, on like a lobby or whatever, I don't want to bother people in game chat with my constant talking. Unless I'm there to make conversation, which isn't that often. No chance. She never asked for these things outright. She never had to. But she was happy to receive them when they came her way. Back to the present. One night, after waking suddenly from a particularly harrowing nightmare, Abby rolled over, settled herself, reached out to 7 more minutes, by the way, settled herself, reached out to Lev, and dragged his body into hers, and then lay there, wordlessly, together. A long hour passed, with neither of them finding sleep, and both aware of the other's wakefulness. Lev pried one of his arms out, and lay his hand against Abby's bicep. Whoops. And lay his hand against Abby's bicep. She felt that small, warm paw against her bare, chilled skin. It took a moment for her to realize that she had held her breath as she let it go. She also realized that she had wanted to run. She wanted to... Mouth is freaking dry. I need another swig of water. All this dang yapping. Dealer gets blackjack, so he wins the hand. Or the set with his hand. Probably not a good idea to talk this much when you first wake up. Starting with a 10 value card is always horrible. 17, absolutely pathetic hand. JK, Rowling. Real quick, let's just bust out so I can read in peace. As she let it go, she also realized that she had wanted to run. She had wanted to snatch her arm back, roll away, grab her backpack, and just bolt. She's not even sure why she hadn't. She lay there thinking about it. She had wanted to run away from her feelings. About the touch. Not the touch itself, she realized. God, why was she so reactionary? Why was the physical so difficult for her? Excuse me. She must have fallen asleep at some point, and the next time she awoke, Lev had turned his body into hers. They were now effectively cuddling. What the F? That's what the author typed, WTF. 16, pathetic hand. Man, your mother's a bust. Bust it. I need that money on the dead looks. She realized he was awake, so she squeezed her eyes shut and willed it to go away. Well, not Lev necessarily, but his proximity perhaps. Only perhaps? Jesus, Abby, what the F is going on? She asked herself. I don't know, ask him. She's having an inner monologue right now, a mental argument. He had gone from moving close to her after she had fallen asleep. Now he just went to bed on her side. He had gone from seeking her body warmth, or so she had assumed, to touching. To now cuddling. Looking in on this scenario, everything was fine. Completely calm. Whilst they both only appeared to be asleep, their breathing remained steady, and their bodies were relaxed and motionless. But mentally, Lev was active, and Abby was in complete chaos. He began pumping out calming... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I'm gonna read this slow, as to not lose it. He began pumping out calming pheromones to soothe Abby. He could practically taste the stress she was manufacturing. At least they could have used much worse words when it came to where they use manufacturing. Thank God they used that word of any. There was a nice catalog of terrible vocabulary. Let's bust out real quick. We need an ace or a face. Alright, so aces don't work in the way that I thought. I think if you get a face value card after an ace, it turns into a 1 value card. I don't know how aces work. Aces change the value of cards, basically, in a weird way. I haven't read the rules as to know exactly why. I thought I was going to get close right there, and I was going to cheer on when I saw that queen saying, oh my god, I just got 21, and nope, because apparently it's worth 10 again. But my 8 turned my, 15 or 14 into a 13 after the... It doesn't make... Anyways. Where was I? He pried out a hand once more and lay it on Abby's bicep. Okay, this is some dialogue from Lev. Just breathe, Abby, he said softly. She did as she was bid. Partly out of habit to following such instructions from Lev, partly because she didn't know what else to do. Okay, so she wanted to run screaming from the place. Again. But given she never actually did that, Lev was beginning to wonder if indeed she really did want to. She could, but she didn't. Time and again. She stayed. Perhaps that was just a reaction, not a genuine desire or viable choice. She squeezed her eyes tighter and tried to breathe to a pattern. Tried to quiet her crazy, scrambling, panicky mind. Whoops. In the meantime, Lev pumped out his scent for her. Oh. Pumped out his scent for her and watched her face. You know what I'm smelling when I'm reading this? Egg white mucus. Ooh, sorry. Okay, so face value after an ace. A face value card after an ace equals nothing? I don't freaking get it. Take your turn, Stanley, you freaking clown. And watched her face. He had come to find her very beautiful. He even thought her chaos was beautiful, but he was fearful. He knew she wanted to run, screaming from the room, every room, almost all of the time. He was fearful that she might just do that one of these days, and not ever come back. He scented her, and watched her as her eyes twitched beneath her scrunched-up eyelids. A frown creasing her forehead, her lips pressed tightly together. She was always on the knife's edge of complete control or absolute relinquishment. Last hand. Between strength and weakness, between vulnerability and impenetrability. Last paragraph. Lev had been watching her for a while now, and had come to understand. At least... Ooh, 13, good hand. Alright, we're gonna get out of here. Let's finish this last paragraph before we exit. Lev had been watching her for a while now, and had come to understand. At least, he thought he did. Oh god, there's another past chapter. If not, the source of her difficulty, the pattern of its expression. He seemed to be in tune with her responses and reactions. Even those that played out solely in her mind. As he walked beside her, He would note the sudden change in her breathing and demeanor, and secretly pump out calming pheromones to help her process her feelings, and after a few minutes, she would become calmer, less reactive. He didn't want her unique essence to be needlessly wasted, seeping out of her unknowingly in her anger and stress, left to evaporate on street corners. Last present-day chapter for now, or paragraph, excuse me. He released a huge dose of his scent. Oh, good lord, man. Before reaching his hand behind his back to tug Abby's hand free from under his ribs, he pulled around his body more, like she might be holding him. Keep breathing, he whispered. Keep breathing. He whispered as her face betrayed her reaction. Her lips and eyes squeezed more tightly, and the frown extended well across the top of each eyebrow. When he brought his hand back around, it landed on Abby's upper arm. Again, it was his favorite part of her. Indeed, it was Lev's inability to resist Abby's huge muscles that gave him the courage to cross the fireside in the first place. When we resume in the next episode, which could be later today or tomorrow, we'll be starting with a present-day chapter. For now, that is Chitlins and Chat Logs with Chris Hansen. Gambler 8 Challenge is Trash Part 2. Oh, man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be so much fun. It's only going to get worse, man. The calm before the storm is how these erotic fanfictions start. Oh, man, I feel exhausted, and I just woke up. I gotta stretch. Oh, heck yes. Oh, man, that stretch made me lightheaded for a second. Alright, I'm gonna keep on moseying around doing my other challenges. I think I can get my Tomahawk challenge done, actually. Of course, you won't be there to see it, because I'm gonna have to provoke all these people to get that thing started, so real quick. Alright. I'm trying to get out of here. There we go.